Hello, I'm Thomas. You haven't heard about me. This is my podcast, When You Fall, Do This, where I travel the roads I used to hitchhike some 10 years ago and try to meet people who gave me a lift and also some new people, and in general to find advice what you should do when you fall. My today's advice: when you fall, try to mimic or imitate bird songs, bird whispers, and it's gonna be better. You fall and you start to do something like this. Tweet, 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 bird, 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 ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, maybe you can hear my squeaking chair, squeaking, not squeezing, squeaking chair. So this podcast gonna be in English. I feel a little bit weird because my audience who supported this project are Lithuanians. But I hope that they won't get angry because I decided that whenever I'm gonna have foreign guests, my whole podcast gonna be in English, so that my guests don't think that I talk behind their heads. And now the interview that you're gonna hear with very important people for me. So the story goes like this. I think in 2007 I was hitchhiking with my sister close to my hometown, and we got a lift from a German couple, Kerstin and Andeck, and somehow we got along very fast, and they visited our hometown. My sister is good at history. She told a lot of stories about our hometown, and when we said goodbye, Kerstin and Andeck said, whenever you are in Dresden, visit us and you can stay at our place. Next year, after finishing studies, I was hitchhiking first big trip across the Europe, and I decided to visit them. So I didn't know completely what to expect. I came to their house. I was a little bit shy to enter the house, but when I entered, Andeck saw me and he said, like, "Oh, Doma, so nice that you came." And for next 2 weeks, I was treated like a king, and they were like showing me a lot of things and showing and visiting their friends, and like visiting Dresden and all the surrounding places. And so far they are Baukmarter family that is like still one of the most heartwarming people that I have ever met. And until this interview, I didn't know one very important part, so that Andeck in his home studio recorded the very first punk rock vinyl in DDR. I knew that he had a home recording studio, that he was recording music, but I didn't know this. Of course, the interesting part is that all the publishing of that album and recording of that album is even more interesting, because there is involved some like secret agencies and something like that, where it is like, long story short, I want to explain a little bit, because when I spoke with Andeck after the interview, he gave me some more details, but of course everything is much more complicated. So the thing is that obviously punk rock movement in East Germany, in GDR, was very not welcomed and pain in the ass for the government. So there were some secret agencies involved, and they had a plan to release to record an album, to find who can record an album, and then later to make a proof this album for this to get these people in jail. And of course all the like Andeck and the guys who were recording the album didn't know that there was some bigger plan, but luckily everything went well, and nobody got in jail, and the album was released. So before going to interview, I will play a song that was recorded in that studio, and the guys who play are two kids, Thomas and Johnny. They are sons of Kerstin and Andeck, and later you're gonna understand how the band happened and some interesting details. So enjoy.
A one, a two, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Halt! Hier spricht die Polizei. Lassen Sie sofort die Gitarre fallen. Das geht Sie aber gar nichts an. Wir sind hier die harten Kämpfer. Denn nur der Kampf wird überleben. Tod und Teufel sterben nicht. Wir brechen durch das schwarze Licht. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Jetzt geht's wieder richtig los. Alarm, die Welt ist ewig groß. Langen läuft der Wind wie Schwung. Wer umfällt, der ist verloren. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur den Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur dem Tod sind wir erlegen, haha. Nur dem Tod sind wir erlegen, haha. Nur dem Tod, nur dem Tod, nur dem Tod sind wir erlegen. Das Chaos geht, wir kämpfen noch. Die Schätze fallen ins schwarze Loch. Wir haben uns mit Stolz gehauen. Der Kosmos ist ein wilder Traum. Nur dem Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur dem Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur dem Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben. Nur dem Tod sind wir erlegen, denn er wird uns nicht vergeben.
I will before we start the chat, I will give a short introduction how I got there, because actually today in this in yesterday's episode I spoke a lot that sometimes it's very hard to interview people, because you get into the moments that I mentioned yesterday. You're just having a good time, and and you don't want to press recording button. So far I came here, it was also like the same. I didn't want to press the record button, but thank you that you agreed to speak. Before the publishing the interview, I will give an introduction, but now maybe I would like at first to say here is Thomas Baumgartel. Yeah,
Baumgartel.
Baumgartel. We are in his.
Sorry.
Oh, imagine how this person is lucky. He was.
It's nice song.
Yeah, nice song, and it's.
To me,
and it's
my daughter. I have to go on the phone.
Yeah, so then you go on the phone.
Yeah.
I could cut down or something.
No,
We'll see what she.
Hallo Ros, hallo. Warte mal. Halb ist gut, eine halbe Stunde. Half an hour.
Yeah.
Ja, klingt gut. Bis dann. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, it's.
So, I'm sorry, my daughter want to be picked up.
So
me
everything. So
in
it's
half an
the
hour.
same as as when you are filming something or recording, and then there's the plane, and somebody says no we have to wait till the plane flies away. But no, why to wait? Like all the pilots planned, scheduled so to be on a
Yes.
live on a shot, and why no if there's a plane, if there's a call. So we are in your studio, and if I remember correctly, like 12 years ago, I think 12 years. Oh no, more. It's in 2008 when I was here. If I remember correctly, like because we could speak a little bit also about your family, about father, about mother, but the thing is that we are in the before that it was like local bar or local
Yes.
pub, and then you saw that there is this nice building, you want to have it, so you wrote there was something, it costs a lot of money, but you wrote to the owner and you said that you had only a third of the money or something
not
like
even,
that.
Yeah.
Not even third?
It's a third. Yeah, it's correct.
So it was like 60 and 20, something like that.
Yes, in Deutschmark.
Uh-huh.
Deutsche Mark.
So it's even before euros.
Yes.
That you want to make studio here?
Yeah.
And then you waited like for 7 months or something like that with no
Yes.
replay. And then and so can you tell a little bit how you decided like about this building and why to choose this building?
Oh, there's not that much to say about because in that time I was 22, 23, I don't know, in my early 20s.
Yes.
And I was working in my father's studio. It was a little studio in my parents' house. And I was doing much more than my father there in the studio. So I planned to make money with working in the studio. And there were too much bands and too much in and out in the house. And my mother said, "Can't you go somewhere else?" And we were looking like 2 or 3 years to find a good place where I can live and have a studio. And we looked mostly in Dresden. It's our hometown.
Yes.
And next to our village. And there wasn't anything good, and it was too expensive, too close to neighbors, or too big, too huge, too small, or whatever. And after searching for like 2-3 years, my father said, "I found something here in the next village. It's an old pub, and it's empty, and they want to sell it." I saw a sign, he said, and we checked the house, and they said they want. A few years ago, they wanted for this house 180,000. When I was checking the house, they said 80,000. And I wrote them this letter, as you mentioned, and I said, "I can give you 20,000. I'm a poor artist, and do it. Let's do it or not. I can give it cash and right now, but I haven't anything more." And I haven't heard of them in like 7-8 months. And then they called me and said, "Let's do it." And then there was the switch to euro, the money. How do you say it? How do you call it? The
Currency changed.
Yes, from
And
Deutsche Mark to euro. So I bought this house in the end for 10,000 euro. And it's a huge house. You know it. And I said I can't hold it on my own, so I asked my brother, "Let's do it together or not?" And he said, yes, let's try. So he lives upstairs with his
Yes.
family now, and I live downstairs. And
So, have you been in this pub when it was working, or?
me not,
Uh-huh.
no, but my parents. And it's a well-known pub,
Uh-huh.
or it was a well-known pub here, because there are not that much, and every marriage and every birthday party,
Oh.
everything happened here. So there are still people making a stop here,
Uh-huh.
and knock on our door and say, can we have a look? Our marriage was here 40 years ago. We want to see what it's looking now. And yeah,
And
it's
then,
funny.
and then you say, oh, you can come to the studio and we can re-record your marriage. We can
Yeah.
replan everything. So, of course, if you already mentioned a couple of times, your father, Andeck, he was with your mother, Kirsten. He was the ones who gave to my sister a lift, and we met. Crazy story in Lithuania while hitchhiking. And so, but the thing is, in the very first podcast in intro, I played a song that I recorded like with your father, like these covers, and also. But the thing is, like I knew I was writing emails to your mother, like in these years. But the thing is that until I wrote like this post and started to think to revisit people whom I met. I think it was maybe on your Facebook or on your brother's Johnny's Facebook page that you shared interview with your father who was
that was me,
interviewing.
yeah.
It was on a German website, and I translated it. And like it looks like your father also was in 80s quite a figure with his studio in like underground and punk rock music. Can you tell a little bit about it?
Yes, I was a very small kid. I'm born in 79, and I haven't recognized that much about this those stories in that time because I was very small. But yes, he was a person in the underground scene, but the underground scene was very small in the GDR. You know, it was not. Yeah, nowadays we don't have an underground scene, but
Yes.
we have maybe a punk rock scene, but
Yes.
this is huge.
Yes.
But in those days it was really, really small. There were some things happen in Berlin, maybe on the East Sea in the north, and in Dresden, and in Erfurt, Jena. So, and those people know each other, and yeah, it was a small scene. And Andeck made music on his own, not very popular, but he is a good guy, and if someone asked him, can we try to make a record, he always found a way to do a record, you know.
Yes.
He didn't have much equipment or whatever, but he is just such a nice guy, and such a filou, you know, such he will always have an idea how to get there, to make a record, or to find a room, or to, you know, and he knows a lot of people, so he was not very technical, or he was not very busy, business-like, you know. It was just that he's a good guy with good ideas.
Because also he was a drummer, and he was playing in some band. Because also I also want to mention the thing, like all your family, like how you get along with mother, with brother living in the same place. And for me, what was amazed when I because your father would say, Andeck would say, like, Domas, because when I arrived at your house, at your father's house, I didn't know anything what to expect. I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm gonna stay for 2 days. But then, like, I was a little bit shy to go inside in the house, and then I go inside, and then your father sees me and says, "Oh, Domas, hello, it's so nice that you came here." And then, like, for 2 weeks non-stop, I was like shown everything. Like, Domas, today you can't go. We're gonna go today Dresden to daily Dresden, and he showed me daily Dresden. And then he said next day, Domas, today you can't go because Thomas, you gonna show you the night Dresden. And the thing is, and for me, it's also it was very also important, and I have never heard actually before that parents have such a parents and children have such a nice like close relationship, and you say to your father, not father, you usually say Andeck.
Yes.
It's like a friend. So also, and it was at that moment you had the band Krieger, and you were playing. I can't remember Andeck whether he was helping something, and then Kerstin, your mother, she baked a cake, and for me was like, oh, the like rock and roll can be together with the parents, like a family going out. It was really nice, and like I appreciate for showing this one. So, but going back to music, I think I heard that you. Was like Andeck taught you about the music from early ages, because while also if I remember correctly, that your mother was working and your father was like how to say, not a nanny, but like staying at home. It's also not I imagine especially in the 80s, I think it was like a breaking stereotypes, and I think even as I suppose they were getting a little bit also laughter, because like how man stays at home with kids and mother working, but meanwhile I think it was like very interesting also.
For us it was great, for me at least, and I woke up. I grew up with him. I was never in the kindergarten because I could stay with him at home, and we had a really good childhood. I mean, relationship-wise with my parents, and we could do. I don't know. He's a very free-minded guy, Andeck, and Kerstin likes. As my mother liked to be safe.
Yes.
She's a little bit more business. She liked to work, and she liked to be safe. She liked to know that she got a little bit money to live.
Yes.
And she held the family together,
Yes.
And Andeck and us, we lived. And he was making music in a small band, and there were some bands in his studio to rehearse or to make some records or whatever. So, and he knew a lot of punk bands in the GDR, because those punk bands always needed someone in the other cities to sleep there, or to have a
and it was your
and
place.
It was our place. So sometimes at night it knocked on the door 3 a.m, and the punk band was in front of the door, and they wanted to sleep at our house. So that's how I grew up. And when my brother and me were 12 and 10, there was a chance, because one of the quite popular band, Feeling B, played in Dresden, and they slept at our house, and there was the idea that me and my brother, we could play in between their set. It was just an idea. So my brother tried to learn some drums, one drum beat, and I learned 2 or 3 guitar chords and that's how we started. We did it. And the people liked it, because we were very small, 10 and 12 years. We made a lot of noise. The people said, "Oh, so young, so loud."
so young, so loud.
Yes. And that was our start.
And so then you had like this because it was from the start like a Krieger, or it was like it's you played you started so then Johnny was on the drums all the time, and you were like guitar and singing.
Yes, and we started as 2 people. The first years it was called Young Rebels.
Or do you have any recordings left?
I think so, yes.
Somewhere. So maybe I could play later.
Yes.
Because the thing is with the music here in my podcast, I can't play copyrighted material, because it's.
I will try to find something.
And if you would find from this one, it would be very like interesting to play them. So then you started playing, and so you had everything what you need for music. You had a stage, because you knew a lot of people.
Yes.
And also you had a home studio where you can like spend most of your time.
Yes, and I knew the life of the musicians,
Yeah.
From when I was born. So
Because there are people who don't know, live musicians don't know what does it mean to sleep on one couch for three person, and you
and I knew this, and it was nothing new for me, and I didn't even know anything else. So it was not that I that I wanted to live like that, but I just didn't knew anything else. You know.
And it also was your mother Kirsten who would say like, oh, then that she says, oh, but you also have to maybe earn a little bit money or something like that.
Yes, when I was 18, I was that was the only time I had some discussions with my mother about those things. She wanted me to study.
Yes.
And I said, I know I could, but I'm already recording other bands for a little bit of money, and I want to make this as my profession. And I don't need to learn anything for this. I learn on my own, I don't need to study And we discussed like a few months, a half a year maybe, and then she said, "Okay, give it a try."
So like you didn't study, yeah?
No, I didn't. No. And the good thing about my parents, about Andeck and Kerstin, whatever the decision I decide, is that right?
Yeah.
They are standing behind me, So maybe it was not the way she wanted me to go, but when we decided, when I decided I will do it, she's staying behind me and she supports me also, It's not that she said, "Oh, okay, then go and do your things, and I don't want to see you again. I won't help you."
Yes.
No. So we discuss and we talk about it, and I had to überzeugen. I had to convince her, and I did convince her a little bit, and then she's said, "Okay, let's try."
Just like
and Andeck always stays behind us.
It's like now these people who don't have parents like this, they for instance they have like running gaps, and the running gap is giving you a badges. You just have to running gap never gonna tell you don't do this. But if you do something, it's gonna give you a nice badge. There are, all these. So this is how, in some cases, parents should work.
Yes.
So it's and so when you started first band, you were I don't know, Johnny is older or you?
I am older.
So you was the 10.
I was 12 and he was 10.
And so you started also playing music and also recording from that like time, or you how then you took up when it was loud and young, how evolved everything?
We played a few years as a two-man band, and we had a good start because we was pretty young. The people liked it, so everybody wanted to see us. So it was the kids bonus.
Oh,
Yeah. And so we started playing, and we played quite a lot for our age. And then we needed a bass player. We thought we need a bass player. And we asked the guy from our village. Yes?
We have guests.
I think it's Andeck.
Oh, Andeck.
Yeah, come in.
Come in, Andeck. Perfect. We are doing interviews, so very nice. You planned on time.
Sit down.
No, Andeck. Sit back. We were speaking about the. Sit down. Oh, so very nice that you came.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice
to see you.
So this is you hear the voice of Andeck. We spoke. So now we are in a boys stage where they were loud and young. When they were started, Thomas said about his first gig and how he used the child card that they were young. And so how you were also helping with engineering thing and touring with them, with the boys, or?
Yes, often in all the years I start to work with the boys or learn a lot from Thomas and from the life and technical, interesting, new high-end things. And I'm a little bit old man, the father, and so it's
But
Win-win.
Win-win. Oh, can we also speak a little bit because Thomas said that he gonna try to find some recordings where I could play on the podcast. But how can you tell a little bit about also the like musical influences? Did you had or Andeck or you how you decided like you because you from the beginning you started to create your own songs, yes? So
Yes.
how you was what was the influences? Do you remember?
Yeah, we grew up with those GDR German-speaking punk bands, and there was no doubt about doing something else. We wanted to do it in that way.
So
Always German-speaking and punk rock.
but like I haven't heard yet these like your songs, but like Rieger also it was for me was like also it was some also like rock bluesy also like a little
Krieger
bit
was a
blues-
little bit more bluesy, yes.
blues, and
that's
this one
right.
more like straight punk rock, yeah.
Yes.
And so for how long you had this too young and loud band?
I don't know. The next, like I said, we got a bass player from our village. He didn't knew anything, but so we even took one string of the bass away because 3 are enough for him. He didn't knew how to play the fourth one anyway, or not even the third one.
Yes.
And then after a few years more, then 2 more guys came to the band, and we called the band Chicago Jazz. It was not a new band. It just it just grew into it.
Evolved into
Involved,
this one.
yes. So it was not a new band, and that was a little bit more crossover than later. You know, like crossover style, halftime beats, and a little bit more hip hop in it. You know, Chicago Jazz.
And in this time, I was on the road and together with the band Chicago Jazz from the boys, 10 years as tone engineering and driver from the bus. And was a very nice time in the life and very good to live this.
Nice. So you were just like touring all across like
Germany,
and
yes.
and like Andeck was the driver and tour manager and everything, and
Yes, and the sound engineer, the live sound engineer. You know.
so like you have like a perfect combo, you know, like
Yeah, was the boys start to build a crew for all the things, and we start often together as a crew, and this professional.
But was it also to speak a little bit from of course I think also you were if you were touring like for 10 years and with this kind of like punk rock and like underground music, but of course often you need every now and then like to pay also the bills, you know. It was also
Yes, that's why I had the studio for.
so you already like you mean in that Andeck studio, or when you
No,
were touring you
in this-
already had this one
I had
studio?
already this one. Then
When-
I was 20, 22. I don't know. We bought this house with the studio, and when we at that time I already
And
worked in this
so
studio.
in this now studio when we are here, so also everything you built here by yourself, or you were like how you worked and first thing what I wanted to ask, Andeck, do you remember this place and have you been in this pub when it was a pub or not?
This place?
Yeah, when it was a pub.
No.
It was a pub is okay. You can call it a pub. Also es ist ein Restaurant war hier noch, also die Knobelschenker.
No. This,
Ob du da hier gewesen bist?
no, sometimes. Kerstin's mother from the boys and my wife go with the owner from the pub, the child in the school, in the same class. And we know a little bit the owner and this is the life in the countryside.
Yeah. Everybody knows each other. So and when you bought, so you had everything like to rebuild and to prepare for the studio. Yes,
Yes.
it was just like. Do you remember like how long it took to be, or what was the hardest thing to do, or but because so far because. The thing is, this podcast not gonna work because everything is fine to you, and I can't everything is fine, the music fine, everything is fine. I need drama. I need drama. I need something to happen wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So it looks like everything so far. What you do is like you are an example. Just do what you love, and everything gonna go fine.
Yes. And we build it on our own. Andeck is he knows a lot about building everything, about electricity, about the walls, about working with wood, and he knows a lot, and Johnny, my brother, as well. And for some things we called a company, and they made the plan for the electricity. And then we built the electricity, and they came in the end to say, okay, you did good, and we can
Nice.
enable it or
Yes.
activate it. So, but beside that, we did all on our own.
And like now you also, because you do a lot of things. Also, you record in the studio. You work with the video. You work with with the sound. And how often like you use now studio here, or do you have like some like plans or something, or just goes now? Because as I imagine you had like huge community, because when the scene is small and then you know each other and you respect often like each other. So, and as I imagine, like you don't need to put sponsored posts on Facebook about the studio.
I don't do anything.
Everybody-
I don't do any
Just people
social
finds out. Yeah.
work. Yeah. I'm well known in the punk rock scene in our area here, and most of the punk bands coming to my studio, and I don't have to do any commercial on Facebook to get more bands so far. I'm a little bit scared because most of the bands are as old as I am, so there are not enough young bands coming. So, and if they stop playing or stop making music,
Yes.
then
So we need to. Andeck, you are leaving?
Andeck still has to work with Johnny.
Okay, so can you at least in 2 sentences can you tell a little bit about like your 80s music scene, how it was? Do you some clear, or maybe the clearest, some memories that you still have?
In the 80s.
Yes, how it was that, because Thomas told before that knocking at 3 a.m. in the door, people, and like.
Yes. We start in the 80s with my wife to buy a very old house in a village near the boys' house, and prepare from the beginning in the ground from the house practice room for music in a simple vision, and to start a little bit underground studio, and a lot of people know this and comes and say, hey Andeck, we must practice some, and we give you 10 marks or a small budget, and can we practice, or you can try to record a song. And I was very important point for a lot of people, like now Thomas here in Veldi with the Hipgun studio and so. And in this situation was born the idea also from the wrong interesting peoples to record a punk rock band from underground, punk bands from one from Berlin and one from Dresden, and Schleimkeim from Erfurt. And so I recorded in very simple way the first punk rock vinyl LP from GDR with a wrong
Background.
with a wrong background because the police or the police from the GDR
there was a guy who asked Andeck to do this with those bands.
Yes.
And this guy was actually at the Stasi.
Like this police.
Yes, the secret service of the GDR, you know. So no one knows why he did it, and maybe they just wanted to test the people, the bands, and Andeck, and he started to ask, and they made the record, and then they said, "No, you can't publish it.
It's
You are not
forbidden.
allowed." So and then that was a problem, but so they didn't. But someone, do you know wer das nach Westberlin? Nee, wer das nach Westberlin gebracht hat?
A son from governor from or consulat son came to meet in the village and take up the
The master tape and brought it to West Berlin. And in West Berlin, they published it.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So
and the vinyl was really produced, and later in the time from the Bundesrepublik?
Germany?
Germany, after the war, I saw in a museum in Dresden my vinyl record in the first time in original, and maybe 1,000 or 2,000 LPs
and you
was
haven't
pressing.
seen it before, yeah?
No, not seen before. It was a difficult situation with the Stasi and all, and I was afraid because I get not a vinyl record.
Yes.
And later after the war, I saw this original in a museum from the art in an art museum in Dresden.
This is like a amazing story, and I think because you are all in a rush, like we can finish like with this one. So I will ask you because I didn't get the names, so but I will ask about the vinyl name that Andeck recorded, also about your first band. So I will share on my podcast the name so you could understand. The last thing, my podcast is called When You Fall, Do This. And I just improvised one question. What to do when you fall?
Was machst du, wenn du fällst?
When I fall, I make a pause, 5 minutes, and stand up. And this also in the life. When some things are going shit, I said, okay, drink a coffee, smoke a cigarette, wait of Thomas from Lithuania, have a nice time with, and make a plan to stand up and start new. This is the system of my life.
Yeah.
So thank you. It was like Andeck, it was Thomas. Thank you for your time in studio.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Nice to have you here.
And thank you for
hope
hosting.
to see you again.
Yeah, hope to see you again. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I will add the names of the album into description. You can find and listen them. Because of copyrights, I can't play them on my podcast. Once again, thanks to Johnny, Andeck, Kirsten, and Thomas. And here's the last story for this podcast. I was hitchhiking in Sweden, close to Lund, and in Sweden it's very hard to hitchhike because people don't hitchhike there, and sometimes it looks like even drivers doesn't know why this guy is raising his hand. But I was close to Malmo and I found a place, good spot. It was 11 p.m. in the evening, and I thought that it's gonna be impossible to hitch a ride, but I wasn't worried because I found a good place for a tent. But I see a red Mercedes-Benz coming, and I raise my hand and it stops. I open the door, I see the driver, and I can't believe there is Janis Joplin behind the wheel. Except old. I sit in a car and we start to chat, but I can't take my eyes off her because she's like, I think that she's Janis Joplin. Her style is a little bit like Janis Joplin. She looks like Janis Joplin. And I start to reimagine all these stories, that Amy Winehouse is somewhere in Argentina alive together, like Kurt Cobain is also alive. And we start to chat and then, but I can't get this off my head that I'm driving with Janis Joplin, because, and Janis Joplin had a song, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz?" and I'm sitting in Mercedes-Benz. After a small chat, I just say to her, "You look alike Janis Joplin," and that woman she started smiling and she said, "Yeah, because Janis Joplin inspired me a lot, and all my teenage years I was listening to Janis Joplin, and I was lucky enough to see live a Miles Davis concert, but I wasn't able to see Janis Joplin." And then we started to chat about the music, and she asked, like, what are your plans for tonight? I say, I just need to find a place because I was heading towards Denmark. I need to find a place where I could build my tent and sleep. She said, "Oh no, you should go before going like to sleep. I need to show you Malmo." And then she brought to Malmo, and because she said that there should be some sort of festival. You need to see it. And then we go at the square, and then there is nothing. And she says, "Oh, probably it was during weekend and now it's Monday. But you have to go to my friend's pub, jazz pub." And then she brought me to the jazz pub, and there was some live band playing. And she was, I think, in her mid-60s or something like that. But since we entered the bar, everybody was greeting her, and it looks like everybody knew her, and she was, and I looked at her, and it looked like some people who were my age were older than she was. And then I don't know, it was at 1 a.m. or something like that, she dropped me off by the seaside where the hitchhiking spot wasn't far away, and it was warm night and I didn't need to build a tent, so I just laid my sleeping bag on the seaside. But just when there is this moment where you start to fall asleep, but you are still not asleep, I hear that there are some young people chatting or something like that, and I realize that there is some they are having a beer or something like that. And suddenly I wake up my eyes and I see that the guy teen guy wants to piss on me, but the thing is that he doesn't see me, and I say something don't piss, and then he got scared and he came back to his friends, and I don't know, maybe he saw that I'm he thought that I'm homeless or whatever, and so this was my story how I met Janis Joplin.
Fun. Once again, thank you for listening, and I hope you had a good time. I'm saying goodbye for now. See you, hear you tomorrow. And don't forget to have some adventure time.